What's up, YouTube? This is Alex again. This time, not talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Although, I would like to make a quick shout-out to, In the Sack. He is a really smart duelist, and he's topped regionals before, and he's got his Nats invite already in the, format. Enough said. He's good. Check out his channel. I'll include a link. Now, today I'm actually going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And more specifically, how to be a good player. I'll do a video on how to be a good DM as well, but probably several videos on how to be a good DM. But right now, I'd like to just talk about how to be a good player. There's three primary points that really boil it down. First, DM is always right. They put a lot more time in than any of the players do. And if they're not, you should have a different DM. So if the DM rules something a way you don't like, deal with it. If they have a house rule you don't like, deal with it. The DM is always right. It's the first rule in every tabletop role-playing game for a reason. I can't stress this enough. Alright, so if you ever watch this video, you'll know who you are, but I've had several bad experiences with this. Alright, so back a couple months ago, I thought it would be a good idea to integrate new people into my D&D campaign. Right? So this one guy, right? And I won't name names because he'll know who he is, and I'm sorry. You're a good friend, it's just you're a dick sometimes. Like, I told him when we were starting that it was a magic-themed campaign. He needed to take a class that, you know, he needed to take at least one level in some kind of spellcaster, whether it be divine caster, wizard, paladin, or not paladin, although they do get casters, or spells, but they just refused to conform. Like, it took me so much effort. If he didn't want in on the campaign, he should have said so right away. I would have just not had him come. But, you know, eventually we work out some kind of multi-class, which, by the way, totally unfair. It was like a mystical thurge, but completely unbalanced. It was a mystical thurge-ish. It was a rogue, with druid abilities. And, you know, this character was completely unbalanced. Completely unbalanced. Right from the get-go. But I allowed it because I was sick of working with character sheets. Now, where do I go? What do I talk about next? There are so many little things that drove me crazy about DMing this. Alright, so, we were role-playing, right? And every little thing. Even if I was right, he would rule shark on me. Like, if you don't know what rule sharking is, it's where you use the rules in a way that they weren't intended. Like, for instance, I wanted to take a minor action, to take a book out of an unconscious body, cast a spell, and then get on a horse. I know I can do that, but he rule sharked, and we argued about it for like 20 minutes, if not more, probably more. And like the next session, I came back and I came back with a citation saying that I can do this, right? So he was wrong there. Not to say that he doesn't know the rules. He does. He's DM, and like he knows the game, but I mean, not so well that I can't argue against it. Like, it's just infuriating. And like, he wouldn't show up for sessions, which I guess comes down into my second point, but I'd like to talk about why the DM's always right a little bit more. DM should have complete control because they're in charge. If the DM doesn't have control, all the work that they went into making this campaign and balancing enemies and, you know, coming up with an intricate story doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Because shit doesn't work. Like, I'm a pretty lenient DM. I really am. I let him have the busted class even though it was busted, and I told him I would probably have to tone it down once we figured out more about what the character was going to be like. And you know, we argued for hours on this. Like, once he... Like, there's a difference between being attached to your character and being atrociously opposed to balancing. Alright, so let me tell you a little bit more about this character. It had full druid spell list, which I thought from the beginning was going to be way too powerful, plus rogue points for skills. No change into animals, but you know, they had the full spell list. It just was not balanced at all. I suggested taking out feats. He was starkly opposed. I suggested balancing it exactly like the Mystical Thurge, where they have 3 levels in sorcerer or wizard, and 3 levels in druid or cleric. But with rogue and druid, which I thought was totally fair. From that point on, he would be leveling up, you know, with full caster level, just reduced because of the fact that it took that long, or he would have to level up slower because he had to pay in 3 levels for one and 3 levels for the other. And that would have made him balanced with the other player in my party, who, by the way, is a good player. He'll probably know who he is too. But yeah, and the guy wasn't even that opposed to letting my other the rogue but he would not hear it. He would not allow it. I suggested removing all of his feats in exchange for a spell list, and he wouldn't do it. Like, I tried forever to work out a compromise, and he just would not do it. He would not let it happen. It was really frustrating. Now, going on, don't be a dick, is my second point. This one's a pretty easy one to do. I know that a lot of people, myself included, can be an asshole sometimes. But when it comes to the party and you're being extremely selfish and wasting their time, it's bad. Alright, I got a couple points to mention on this. Firstly, back onto the person I was mentioning before. Like, when it wasn't even a threat. I was going to nerf his character because it was retardedly overpowered. Like, it wasn't fair. But, yeah, and then he threatened to not come to sessions that we'd already planned, and, like, he kept dropping out at the last minute, and, you know, that's kind of bad etiquette, because, you know, it's a team effort. Like, you have to have everybody show up for the plot to work. I had a really awesome plot where, you know, they were playing two separate groups, and it was working extremely well until this player decided to be a dick. Like, it was just so frustrating. Like, and then he just stopped showing up to sessions, and then, I know this wasn't his fault, but he, you know, didn't tell me that he wasn't going to be in town for a couple weeks, and that part is his fault, but the fact that he wasn't in town wouldn't be a big deal. We could have just played another one, but he just didn't show up. Like, such a dickhead. And any other things in being a dick that I want to talk about in regards to this? Don't, you know, metagame, don't team kill. Pretty standard stuff. Like, I'm okay with PvP in mine, but if they are doing it because they're mad at one of the players because of something one of their characters did, that's ridiculous. Stealing something from their wallet, right? You know, a pretty standard roguish stuff to do. They just steal shit, right? And, you know, I'm okay with the players taking it out in combat, in-game. But when they are arguing in person, and when I say they, it's really just the one guy being a dick. And, you know, it's okay if players argue, but when they metagame and they take that into the game and they take that out of the game, it just... You can't DM without them getting pissed. It's so frustrating. You can't be a player without them getting pissed. Alright, I know this is a little bit ranty, but at least it's a structured rant. Next bit. Okay, so this is just large groups, this can happen. Alright, so the larger the group you have, the more likely it is that turns are going to take forever, people are going to get frustrated, shit's going to go wrong, it's going to take forever, and, you know, the optimal level is 4. However, I'm an idiot, and let 6 people play last week in my session. And it didn't work at all. At all. Like, there were so many things wrong with that setting that I couldn't even start. But I'll tell you where I went wrong in the next video, where I talk about how to be a good DM. Alright, but I was playing 6 players, right? And, you know, if you are really dedicated to the game, and you're there to have fun, you'll understand that sometimes you need to shut the fuck up. It is agony trying to get 7 people plus 2 other people that were just there to watch, plus, and you have to shut up sometimes. Another one in there for don't be a dick, pay attention. Like, I spent 3 hours getting one party through one conversation and the other party through part of another. 3 hours, and then, you know, of course, one of the people leaves, right? One of the people leaves. Taking with it the entirety of the story. I can't even salvage my plot now because it's that destroyed. You know, and it really wasn't this guy's fault. He did bring the person, and I'm going to have a talk with him and tell him that he can't just bring people that aren't going to get into the game. But he left because he had to take this girl home. And, you know, she was quiet for the most part. Then... But it's the fact that she had to leave early. And, you know, my plot was destroyed. We decided to do something else, which worked a little bit better. But then our bard in the party had to leave. And, you know, he told me ahead of time that he was going to stay till 10. He did warn me. And, you know, that was fine. We played the wreck of the campaign that we were playing. And needless to say, that's on hold until I get a stable party of 4 that want to play and they don't want to be dicks. But yeah, so leaving early is something that I have a personal gripe with, because, like, it's game night. You're supposed to be there. Like, if you have a legitimate reason, like, you have midterms or finals, or, like, you got called into work, or you have a job interview, or something like that, those are legitimate excuses. When you just ditch out for ditching, and I know this situation that they didn't, but there have been other situations where it has happened like that. You know, and any DM who's ever failed at DMing, which we all have, let's be honest, we're not all perfect, can attest to people have to leave early sometimes. People have to skip sometimes. But when it happens repeatedly, and like you write a plot where their character is going to be extraordinarily useful to the party and it can't function without them, you're like, well, fuck me. You didn't even tell me you weren't coming. I couldn't even plan away from that because people just didn't show up. Or they left in the middle of, you know, me describing a scene or something. Alright. Continuing on with that story, though. Later, we decide to do, like, a space punk campaign, where they're all, like, sitting at a bus stop, and it was a really, really solid campaign idea. Like, they're sitting at a bus stop, and suddenly they get teleported as just a quick hook. And they're in a spaceship. And, you know, there's so many little things in here. Like, okay, everything was going perfect. They had managed to defuse a bomb that was on the ship that was going to destroy something. I'm not going to tell you what, because I'm still thinking about running that campaign. You know, they managed to destroy a ship that was attacking them, and they managed to do it all within the confines of level 0 characters. Right, and that was amazing. And then it kind of fell apart. Alright. Firstly, one of the players decided to go to sleep. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but they just had their character faint and wrote themselves out of the story that way. It was so fucking frustrating. And, you know, they just went to sleep there. And, you know, that... And then they went to sleep, like, in real life. And it was just really awkward. I was left with 2 people... Wait. 3 people... who, by the way, were pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed having them in my party. They were delights. But, you know, one of them got bored, and, you know, that's something that you can't rectify. And, you know, the other 2 were completely engaged. But the one person sleeping, that one rebel, just being a dick, laying on the ground after he argued for a while and, like, suggested that we quit my campaign and do someone else's campaign, which, by the way, really annoyed me. Really, really, really annoyed me. Because, like, no one else agreed with him, but he didn't pick up on that. More people should be versed in social cues. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's a good DM. I know that he's DM'd large parties before, but, like, like, we're there to game and not get frustrated with each other. Yeah, and, you know, half the party was distracted for, like, half of that session. Let's go back to that. One of the girls brought along 2 kittens. And, you know, kittens are adorable. Except when you have to watch them the entire session because the other cat that lives in the house has eye herpes. And when one of the people that lives there is allergic to cats. So, pretty much we had to keep an eye on them the whole time, which distracted from, you know, campaigning. I couldn't get the D&D group together to just talk. I tried, it just didn't work. I must have tried 7 times at least. Yeah, and this one guy was, like, undermining my authority. It's the same guy that went to sleep. And he just, like, I said table talk is not okay right now. We need to actually get stuff done. And he's like, no, tabletop talk is cool. Like, I can't DM with someone undermining my authority. The DM has to be in charge. That's their goal. That is their job. They are to be in charge. And the player characters, again, sometimes need to just shut up and not be dickheads. Like, okay, and that guy went to sleep, and, you know, who does that in the middle of a session? That's, not only is that weird to fall asleep in someone else's house when you're, like, not spending the night, but, like, to just do it out of the blue in the middle of social interaction, it's weird. Like, I don't have drugs or alcohol at my games, because that would be crazy. So there was, like, no reason for him to do that. I mean, it was like 12 at night, and, you know, D&D groups stay late. And, like, the person that got bored, my only real gripe with her was the fact that she got bored without trying. She got bored and frustrated, without actually trying anything to solve the dilemma that they're in. She just kind of let Jay do it. Damn it. I'm really bad at that. Guys, I hope you forgive me for this, because it's kind of something that I have to get off my chest, because it is really frustrating. Really, really, really frustrating. Like, I can't believe how hard it was. Like, the difference between a 4-person party and a 6-person party shouldn't be that big. I know 6 is a lot, but there shouldn't be 2 conversations going on the side. I can't deal with stuff going on when I'm trying to DM. And players should be familiar with player etiquette. Like, that's pretty much what this video is about, player etiquette. Just being nice and doing things the proper way. Anything else I have to say on being a dick? Oh, right, don't do it. Third point. House rules. House rules should be abided by. Now, no one had asked if they could bring cats over, right? We had 2 people there that were allergic to cats. But they didn't ask, so we couldn't tell them no. And they brought it over. You know, I mean, when I say house rules, I mean the place that you're playing's rules. If you're playing in a card shop and they don't like swearing, don't swear. If you're playing at a friend's apartment, you know, be respectful of their shit. Try to not distract or, you know, bother all of their roommates. Like, I know D&D sessions get loud, but there's an extent. You know, just random stuff like showering is important to do. Like, you're going over to someone's house. It's a social situation, whether it be with nerds or not. You should be cleanly, at least, or, you know, stuff like that. Ask them before you get a glass of water. Just as a rule, that's polite. Like, this one's pretty self-explanatory. Just, you know, do things in a way that wouldn't, you know, destroy you. If you were at a party or something. Like, yeah, it's just that easy. Now, this probably won't get very many views. I don't expect it to. This is just something that I thought I would put out for people that were potentially thinking about getting into Dungeons and Dragons, or a subsequent edition like Pathfinder. I personally love Pathfinder. It's amazing. And just to close it up, I'd like to mention a couple things that a player can do to really, really help the gameplay experience. Just a few. First, you should, and I say should, not cheat. Just don't fudge your rolls, you know, stuff like that. Be nice, think out your character, think out a backstory, ask questions during the campaign, because, like, things like cities, and I'll talk about that in a different section, if they do nothing except buy magic weapons, I, again, talk about that in another video, then they're not doing a good job as a player. Keep all these things in mind. Like, there's plenty of other things you can do to be better as a player. But those are the big three that I think I have. Other than that, this has been ASAPS. I hope to have another video up talking about more D&D related stuff. If you enjoy this rant, please leave comments below or like my video so I know that I'm headed in the right direction and my audience is well placed. Thanks a lot. If you guys would like to suggest content, for instance, how to set up a proper dungeon or something like that, just shoot me a PM or message me or comment below. Yeah, feedback would be nice, guys. Thanks a lot. I hope to hear from you guys in the comments below. Peace out.